Social Innovation Park, SIP. There you go. Educate, empower, and enhance. So it's really not about charity as much as it is about empowerment. It's not about giving the fish, it's about teaching the person how to fish. Perhaps it's about a catalyst, something to trigger within us some kind of a collaboration to find a win-win solution, which isn't exactly a form of charity. And the setting is pretty interesting.
Or something, and then she came to Singapore to give us, well, sort of introduction to me about taking IT global, which was then, of course, a much smaller setup than now. I don't know how she balances her work, her school work, with doing this sort of stuff that consumes all of those energy, plus probably 1,000 more projects that we're doing together jointly at the World Economic Forum as part of the global, the Young Global Leaders. And of course, Mike, who is my video editor of that video itself.
The sound was bad. The sound was bad.
Did such a fantastic job, and I think 6 years ago you came along as well. So really, I want to leave the formal introduction to my MC. I don't want to take away that job, but then I'll be really offending them if I don't do justice to explaining their video a little bit. So just to give you, a sense of when and how this was done, and also the whole sense that sometimes when we want to do something, we might have a big plan and all sorts of preparation work and so on and so forth. But at the end of it, really, it comes down to execution and bringing it through all the way. So whatever Jennifer has planned in the background, she captured them in some nice cameras and lost them. I think after filling it up, right? So this video itself was done like, oh no, I lost my camera. So, well, what do I do? Well, anyway, Penny, here, can we do one?
Oh dear.
And that was how it happened. And there were people all around us, and she said, but look, I've got a lady to rush to. It's 5 minutes, I've got 5 minutes, let's just do it. So that's why we hear a lot of background noise and all sorts of, interruptions and so on. But guess what? They did a fantastic job in making me look a lot better than what happened behind the scene. So there we have our guests for today and our giants in conversation, Miss Jennifer Correro and Mr. Michael Fuder.
Okay. And these are
the kind of education work that we're doing and networking work that we're doing is it's very focused on prevention instead of treatment. So we're trying to engage young people at an earlier age so that they don't, in a lot of cases in Canada, people see it almost as crime prevention through social development. So by getting people engaged in important issues and involved in their community and in society, they might not do less productive things. But a lot of the funding models out there right now, a lot of the funding and support for initiatives is focused on treatment. It's only once there is already a problem, let's deal with that. Let's not actually invest in prevention of these issues and challenges. And so getting people to think about how our work is an investment in actually preventing youth from being disengaged in the future. How do we measure that? And there's been some great studies in the United States. If they've said if they can reduce the dropout rate by 1/5, they can create $18 billion in economic value and savings. And so, how could we just engage those youth who are otherwise dropping out of school if we can improve education? So getting our governments to invest more in that, getting people to understand this model, why is prevention more important than treatment, and investing in that more. That's been a challenge so far. And in terms of the definition of social entrepreneurship and innovation between countries, I guess it really depends on the context that people are living in and the countries they're working in. So obviously that might be something different. The challenges and the problems that they're facing or trying to deal with in a country like Canada might be completely different than those in Africa. But I think the concept is still consistent, the idea of giving back. And someone asked me a question yesterday, one of the teachers in my talk, he said, how can we encourage students to think of this as a career? Everyone's so focused on being a doctor or a lawyer. And I think this idea of creating your own career, of becoming an entrepreneur and seeing social innovation as the same value of that career as a doctor or a lawyer. I think that's something that in the developing world is valued much more than it is in countries like Canada or Singapore. And so I think that's one of the challenges, is the value of social entrepreneurship, the value of investing back into the community. A lot of people say, I'm still struggling to convince my parents to understand what I do. I mean, we both faced that problem in the last decade, and many young entrepreneurs we meet in the developed world are in similar situations. But when we talk to the young people in Ghana, they have much more support. Obviously, they're living with and facing a lot of those issues. So I think that's one of the biggest differences.
And the question about the arts, you probably have the ideas more than anyone. I share that passion, the passion for the arts. And one of the things that we did with Taking It Global was to create this global gallery and to create a showcase for young artistic talent. And so I think that your strategy, what you might want to think about is, how much do you want to focus on the sort of traditional arts and creating a bridge with technology to that? So for example, music, there's so many new ways to create music and to share music using technology and media, and or if you think of visual arts, how technology is involved in the production process versus is it about the showcase? If it's more of the traditional arts, maybe it's partnerships as well, and looking at different cultural institutions and how are they transforming to use technology to showcase more established artists. So it's kind of a question of strategy. Do you want to focus on promoting the up and coming? And if so, then I would focus on the creative process itself and trying to use new media in the creative process and in the production process and in the showcase process, and use it to kind of do mashups and to kind of have that collaborative approach, which is an emerging field, and or work with existing institutions to kind of link up with it. And then the question about how to make yourself known. One of the little things that I did is kind of related to what you're doing right now, which is the power of a question.